Well, let's talk to Isabel Oakeshott. Isabel, very good morning to you.
Morning. I'm wondering about dogs that are overly affectionate. I mean, might they fall foul of some kinds of rule?
Yes. Yes, unsolicited sort of physical approaches and all that sort of thing, like when they jump up on you.
Exactly. Dogs are a law unto themselves, aren't they? This is reminding me of a conversation I had at a very kind of celebrity-studded Christmas party. I think it was even roughly this time last year, actually. In which someone extraordinarily famous and inebriated declared that their dog was a racist. Their dog just doesn't like people who are not white-skinned. It was the most bizarre conversation.
How weird.
Well, what is it with dogs? You know, they have their own minds, don't they, about who they like, they don't like, and who knows where that leads.
This is the thing. But the Welsh Labour Party have decided that they might actually be racist, and I mean it's just ridiculous. Apparently, they've had complaints from people who say we don't like seeing dogs walking around in the wild. Well, then don't go in the wild. Then that's where dogs are.
Well, I mean, what are they going to do? Are there people that don't like songbirds? Are there people that don't like squirrels?
Oh,
How far do you take this?
But this is the thing, isn't it? We've now reached peak craziness. This is why I've spent most of the morning laughing, actually, because I've decided actually laughing about stuff is probably the only way really to remain sane. Because, you know, when even Keir Starmer can't pronounce smashing the gangs. You know, he's found this bloke from Turkey who he seems to think is the mastermind criminal behind the infiltration of 30,000 people a year coming here. He's clearly not. But even more importantly, he seems to think it's OK to talk about him as if he's guilty. I mean, what happened to the ban in the House of Commons for not talking about Southport?
I mean, can I just make an important point here? In addition to that, which is a very important point, that it seems that some people are allowed to talk about active cases, but the rest of us aren't.
Right.
This isn't a triumph of this government's smash the gangs policy. This investigation has been going on for absolutely years, involving multiple international crime agencies. So if Keir Starmer is going to stand up there along with his Home Secretary, Yvette Cooper, and try to claim this is evidence of his and their smash the gangs policy being effective, I've just got to point out that actually that operation started many years ago under a different government. So we're not going to fall for that one, are we?
We certainly aren't. Let's have a look at what he actually said, not just the gaffe, but the real speech.
It is good news that today a man suspected of being a significant supplier of small boat equipment has been arrested. Criminal gangs have been getting away with this for far too long. I want to thank the UK National Crime Agency, along with their Dutch and Belgian counterparts, for all their hard work and their crucial role in this investigation. It's exactly what we want to see. And it shows that our approach of working with international partners to smash the people-smuggling gangs is bearing fruit. In just over 4 months since the election, we've rapidly set up a new border security command, bringing together key agencies to disrupt people-smuggling gangs.
Yeah, so it's taken a great many months and all the work that 3 different agencies from 3 different countries can do, and they've managed to get one bloke who's apparently the main supplier of boats. I mean, I'm just not buying it. And also, it sounds like he's saying to us that this guy is guilty. He's sure he's got the man. He's sure that this man is guilty of the crimes that he's accused of. I mean, that sounds to me a bit premature, kind of interfering with the trial, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, whatever happened to the obsession with making sure that everyone gets a fair trial and the complete media blackout of anything to do with a case? And yes, you're right. Let's bring some perspective to this. There he is on his soapbox, sounding, you know what, he sounds like he's in a pulpit the whole time, doesn't it? Give you the kind of slightly dismal feeling of being in a deserted church, listening to a reverend droning on a Sunday morning when you'd rather be somewhere else. No disrespect to Christianity. You know, always nice when you get a lively reverend, but he's not one of them, is he? As he's going on about how this shows that his policy is working, you know, they've got this one bloke who, you know, as you say, seems to have been already tried and convicted by Keir Starmer without actually any due process. Let's just remember that literally thousands more people have been coming over every month since this government took over. So I'm not going to give them any credit for this. I don't want to be mean-spirited. You know, one potential people smuggler caught is one less, I'm sure, and let's just and see how many more crop up.
Well, as somebody sent a tweet in earlier to me, 200,000 to go, you know, because there's quite a lot of these people. I don't think one guy is going to solve the problem. But, I mean, let's face it, in the 4 months that they have been in charge, they've also managed to get quite a good award this morning. We're reading in The Sun on page 2 that Britain has got the biggest rise in immigration of any country in the Western world last year. So fantastic, well done, good work. 747,000 practically permanent migrants moving to the UK from overseas, which is up 52.9% on the year before. It's extraordinary.
Marvellous. You know, we were talking about this on Kev's show last night, and I was saying that if you live almost anywhere, but particularly in urban areas, you can feel this pressure on population. You know, the overcrowding, for example, in public transport hubs. You know, I've been a commuter for 25 years, best part of, and it is remarkable, actually, the difference that you feel on the street, public places.
Totally.
We are getting very, very overcrowded.
It really is very much overcrowded. And again, you know, Nigel Farage is one of the few people who brings this to people's attention, and the other Reform MPs, of course, as well. Talk about how, you know, this has an impact on everything that we do. It's not just more crowded public transport. It's more waiting time at the hospital. It's more difficulty in getting an appointment at the dentist or at the doctor. It's more difficult getting into a car and not getting stuck in traffic. You know, it's more difficult, you know, walking around the streets. Everything has become much more complicated because there's too many people here.
Yeah, of course. I mean, it's just, I don't know how people can actually deny this. You know, the left get into a right old lather whenever you make these suggestions, whenever you say that immigration is linked to all these problems with our public services, which is a fact. I mean, it's completely obvious that if you import literally over a long period of time tens of millions of people, then that is going to dramatically change the pressure on everything that is set up to provide for their needs. And unless you expand your schools and your hospitals and your GP surgeries and your road network accordingly, well, guess what? You know, there's going to be a logjam, and that's exactly what people see and feel every day up and down the country.
Yes. And meanwhile, while it's all very well for immigrants to come to this country and be looked after and given free housing or free hotels and food and lodging and all sorts of help to get themselves sorted out medically, it turns out that if you live in this country and have lived here for a while, Keir Starmer backs this kind of thought police idea. The front page of the Times this morning, quite staggering, points out in the wake of the Allison Pearson story, children are among thousands of people being investigated by the police for non-crime hate incidents. Now, I seem to remember that when the Tories were in power, they were supposed to be doing away with non-crime hate incidents, but the police forces across the land were told, stop investigating non-crime hate incidents. But it seems that Yvette Cooper and Keir Starmer want them to do even more of it.
That's right. So when Yvette Cooper was made Home Secretary, she indicated that she was reviewing the Tory decision to effectively instruct the police not to bother with this stuff. You know, they were told under the last government, look, you know, just kind of rein it back. You know, if there is a real reason to believe that someone has said something or is doing something that really could incite bad things that could result in real harm, then by all means record it, you know, if it's a really, really serious. But stop acting on, you know, oh, a neighbour who doesn't like you saying, well, I'm going to tell on you, you know, I see you said this or that.
You call me a nasty name.
Yeah, I mean, now Yvette Cooper has gone full circle and is saying, actually, we do want our police doing this. Well, first of all, I think it breeds the most horrible culture, and you see it all social media. Oh, you said this, well, I'm going to report you to the Met Police. You know, well, kind of society is that where we're all telling on each other? You know, this is playground stuff, isn't it? Quite literally, it seems, if even children are finding themselves hauled over for this sort of nonsense. But also, you know, the basic point is people don't even get a visit from the police if their house is burgled, if their car is stolen. Right. They can't guarantee getting the attention of officers for even more serious stuff. So for goodness sake, you know, I honestly, I do really, really worry about the direction our country is going in when this sort of thing is being not even prioritised. I just don't think it should be on the agenda at all.
And when you see what happened to Allison Pearson, and she talked to Julie Hartley-Brewer about it the other day, the idea that the police turn up and they won't tell her what the tweet is that is so offensive that they had to come around and talk to her about it, and because they're not allowed to, and they're not allowed to say who complained about it either. You just think, surely to God, people keep saying to me, oh, you know, the police really don't like doing this kind of thing. Well, I'm beginning to think they actually do like doing this kind of thing because they keep doing it.
Well, we seem to be in a bit of a horrible parallel universe with this stuff. And by the way, just to be clear, a lot of the reporting yesterday was suggesting that Allison Pearson was being investigated for this non-crime hate incident thing. I'm afraid it's more serious than that. And if you look at the Telegraph coverage today, 3 police forces have been involved in an investigation which just isn't just a non-crime investigation. There is a suggestion that there's a criminal investigation. I don't blame Allison for feeling very frightened by this. Yeah. And this is a lady who has the full force of an enormous media organisation behind her, who's got a public platform, and lots of people in high places who support her every step of the way. What about ordinary people who find themselves in this situation because they said something that someone didn't like on social media? You know, how disempowered are they? And then if they get poor advice, they find themselves, you know, quite literally being potentially locked up.
I know. It's absolutely staggering. Incredible stuff. Isabel, just because we're short of time, I've got to go. Thank you very much indeed. Good to talk to you. Isabel Oakeshott talks International Editor there. We're talking, of course, about all manner of things to do with the thought police, as it's called. It's not just a podcast by me and Kevin O'Sullivan. It's a real thing. Let's talk to Suzanne, who's in Nottinghamshire, has got a story for us. Suzanne, very good morning.
Hi, good morning, Mike.
Tell us what you want to say.
So a couple of years ago, my daughters were walking to the local shop. One was 9 and one was 11. So one was at primary school, one secondary school. Yeah. A young man from the local secondary school came along on his bike, and as he rode past, he punched the youngest one in the head.
Right.
Didn't know, I'd never seen it before.
Just so randomly did it?
Randomly did it as he went past. So obviously I contacted the police because it was a random assault. Yeah. Absolutely didn't want to know. Perhaps he'd had an argument with her older sister. Perhaps he'd had an argument with one of his younger siblings. Did it really matter, etc., etc. It took me 7 or 8 phone calls to the police until they actually went and spoke to him. Right.
So did you know who he was? You were able to identify him as well?
I was able to identify him because he went to school with her older sister. Okay. He was in her form group.
Right.
So it was easily identifiable. The school were brilliant. They would have got involved, but obviously they wanted it was serious, and they wanted the police to intervene as well. And they did eventually, but yes, it took an awful lot of hard work.
And did they give any reason why it took so long for them to get involved?
They were busy, and again, it just kept coming back to, well, maybe he had an argument with her sister. Maybe he's had an argument with her sister's friends.
Right. So just looking for a reason not to do anything.
It was any excuse not to do anything. They did not want to go. For me, if that had been my son, I would have wanted the police straight at the door, and I would have wanted to know to ensure it never happened again.
Yeah, exactly.
You'd want to pull them over the coals, wouldn't you?
Totally.
But yeah, as it transpired, and it's lucky the police didn't know this, her older sister was being bullied by that boy in a group of about 8 other boys.
Right.
And I think if the police had known that, they wouldn't have got involved at all.
Yeah. Shocking stuff, isn't it? Suzanne, thanks very much indeed for the call. Let's get a voice note from JD.
Hello, Mike. JD calling from Leeds. I'm just reading in the news this morning that a 9-year-old has been issued with a non-crime hate incident for calling another child a name at school. Now, you might remember not so long ago Angela Rayner referring to Tories as scum, and that was in Parliament and it's on record. So what I would like to know is whether she was issued with a non-crime hate incident for that utterance, and if not, can we get the same police officers investigating this 9-year-old onto your show so I can ring back and make a formal complaint against Angela Rayner, and we can all see how long it takes to bring her to book.
Very good, JD. Thank you very much indeed. You can also include in that list, you can include David Lammy. You can probably include Wes Streeting as well, who's also said things on Twitter, written them down, published them on a social media site. All manner of other members of Labour's cabinet who have said terrible things on social media, but yet seem to have somehow escaped the long arm of the law. I don't know why. I wonder how that could happen. I've got a great one here from Chris, who says, my work vehicle has a retarder fitted, and when I use it, the vehicle and everyone inside it is retarded. It'll be fun explaining it to the police should they come knocking on the door. Well, that's a good one. How about this from Brian in a wet and windy Spain? I hope the Turkish boat dealer isn't a Turkish Kurd, because that would really screw Starmer's vocal ability.